So we can't officially bring the meeting to order, can we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because we could do the
Oh,
minutes
yeah.
at least, yeah.
No, we can't do that.
We can't vote on
We can't do the minutes, but we can bring the
You
meeting
can
to order.
open it for,
It's open.
where do
Something
we
like a
ended
work-
off on
workshop.
miscellaneous?
Yeah, it's a workshop.
Miscellaneous uses,
I think we already did all
All
those.
that.
We should be starting on proposed.
proposed uses. all
Yeah,
right.
because
All right, that's,
miscellaneous is just essential services,
Yeah.
and that's nothing. Today is the 9th?
yes. 12, my goodness, 12/9. Back in September.
Freeman.
Agriculture-related small, and we have agriculture-related big.
So do we have definition for the,
They're in the performance we talked about from.
yeah,
But we tried to scale it a bit, and that's subject to. And remember, this is agriculture related, so it could be, it's pretty open-ended.
so that could be farm stands.
Yeah,
That could,
yeah. It could be, those cornfields, mazes, I mean, it could be
Okay.
a lot of different
I
things.
don't
And-
think there's a definition
No.
that's
specific.
right, yeah. So
Let me go
do
grab
we
mine.
need to define the difference between small and large?
Yeah, we kind of took a stab at the standard we started to do, but we didn't, really pin it down yet. We knew we wanted to scale it
Yep.
to something that was pretty, unobtrusive. I didn't bring that section with me, but that we need a definition for that. And same thing with agricultural tourism. We fleshed that out.
Yeah, like what?
They use the farm as a B and B or a
Okay.
summer camp or something, or an interactive kind of people come in and partake in the daily life of the farm. They're getting to be popular in other parts of the country.
Right, yeah.
Well, and it could also be agriculture. Do we include like lobster boat tours and things like that, or is that different?
That would be different.
Okay.
That would
Yeah.
be more under the, wait, what specific
Like boat,
thing?
lobster
tours?
boat tours.
You know, because
That would
other
probably
towns
be
do.
agriculture
that.
tourism, though,
Yeah.
or
Well,
agriculture tourism.
Agriculture, I think we would probably want to define that differently.
Well, I'm just.
Or we
I'm
don't
just-
have to. We could
Well,
float it all together.
well, I'm wondering if you don't. I'm just thinking that,
You
oh,
first.
that Waldeboro is such a huge clamming community that I can foresee sometime in the future, there's so many lobster tour boats, why wouldn't they have, hey, here's this little piece of shorefront property, let's teach these people from Vermont how to
How to-
clam.
yeah,
I mean,
clam,
you
yeah.
go there for half an hour and,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that would be, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm thinking, when you said that, I was thinking of like Cabbage Island. You
Right.
take the boat out.
Yeah,
and
well, I was thinking that too, but I know that when we have family up, all our grandkids, they all want to try clamming.
Yeah,
Right, and why? We harvest more clams than anyone, like, why are, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So that's the only aquaculture type thing. I mean, the lobster boat
Well-
is easy.
well, I'm just reflecting on this now. What agriculture-related businesses are we thinking of that aren't tourist-related?
oh, it could be like value-added production of some sort, or,
Uh,
I'm just thinking
Well, value-added, I think,
We have a separate
value-added farm
category.
production would be a separate thing.
separate category.
And that's
But-
why I'm saying if we're worried it's such a broad, loose term, maybe.
Well, related could be like a campground. It could be a small daycare, kids doing farm stuff, or summer camp, or, I mean, there's a whole
Cow
host of
therapy or
things.
something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right, I just
something.
read about that in the paper.
Yeah, or people, doing some traditional farm art, forge, basket making, I don't know.
Yeah, but isn't that
But a lot of
included?
those-
A lot
A lot
of
of
people
those
do
already
that
are
as a
It's a
big
supplement.
deal.
Well, a lot of those
Yeah.
are already included, I thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was
Yeah.
already included
That's
in
why I'm-
agriculture and related business.
That's why I'm saying, if we're worried that it's such a broad term, maybe we don't need agriculture-related business.
Although, well, I guess if you're gonna have a farm stand, that comes under retail, so if it's off-site from your farm, but then it comes under retail, so you're
Yeah, farm
covered.
stands have to be on your property. Department of Ag has regs. for
Right, but
that,
like
yeah.
Spears Farm stand.
Oh, yeah, that would be
That's a
different. That's a
retail,
retail.
so
Completely
if
different.
somebody
Yeah.
wants a farm stand,
That's a
that's a
retail.
retail, so it's not
Retail.
even included in.
No.
This just seems, I think, like Max says, it's a little redundant,
All right.
I think.
Or if someone wanted to do some type of farmy type stand in town, could that be under the kiosk type? You know, I'm picturing the town growing and there being fresh vegetables.
Could be, you know.
In town,
we
you
have a-
know.
Yeah, kiosk is a pretty small
Mm-hmm.
operation. That very well could be.
There is the where the group of farmers get together and do in the summer, right? They have it
Yeah,
right
yeah.
outside the town
Farmers
hall,
market,
yeah,
right.
right.
Yeah. But you can have a very, there's a real small stand in Dharmascotta near across from
From Hannaford's, that one,
the.
on the corner.
On the corner there
Browns.
of,
Yeah, yeah.
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 I mean, pretty small.
That's what I'm saying, so maybe that could fit
That
into
could
one of these
fit
other
into-
categories.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think.
Although that would still, I would think that you still
more
want that
retail.
under retail because you
Yeah.
wanna deal with traffic.
Yeah. You want it off the
Yeah. I s-
right of way.
I think
and,
you need
yeah,
to still
parking. Yeah.
consider that.
This was supposed to be kind of like scaled, but it would take place on the farm.
Okay.
And it'd be a related kind of business. Loosey-goosey on that. It came about from Topsail Farm. That's how
So
it
maybe
spearheaded
then
it.
in the rural use here, we scale at
could scale it
agriculture
there.
and small related business or agriculture and larger related business, do it that
Well,
way.
these proposed uses will get rolled into other
Okay.
categories, so
So what's the final decision?
we'll revisit it if we need to. Because we did want to put some performance standards in place
Mm-hmm.
to detail noise and, you know. Now, agricultural tourism, if we expanded that,
Yeah, I think agriculture, I think
Yeah.
that,
a real broad,
yeah.
maybe
Can
not
we go
use the term agriculture, but some sort of
ecotourism
resource.
or something.
Ecotourism.
Ecotourism.
Can we go back for a second? So
Yeah.
if you look at the agriculture and related business, that's yes, basically across the board, except for,
Well, I think what we were gonna do there is just have agriculture.
okay, and then the related
And then
business
would
is
be
gonna
some
be.
subset.
Okay, good.
Which one was this?
The
The-
agriculture, we're
Right.
taking out the related business on that one.
Mhm.
And that's just agriculture straight across.
Just
And then the
people-
related
Wow.
business has to go before,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Okay.
a separate thing.
yeah,
Separate item.
perfect.
But agritourism would be ecotourism,
Because then it would relate to
Right.
aquaculture.
Clamming.
clamming,
Yeah, that was the only thing that I could
That's,
think
yeah,
of.
that's great.
just, yeah, broaden it out, natural, something
Don't
like
they?
I thought about
Don't they
it.
still have, on Cape Cod, they used to have whale watchers, bird things,
Oh, yeah,
seals and
right.
stuff, you know, all that stuff, and that's a very specific.
We had the national, national, whatchamacallit there too, on all the beaches. What was that called, the national?
National Seashore,
Seashore, yeah,
Yeah,
National
yeah.
Seashore, yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah, but we could do the same thing here.
Because my sense is that may grow,
Yeah.
it's so big, because
Kayak
everybody's
tours
conscious
or
of the
something.
Right.
We should
land
have them
disappearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I never see those.
And the climate change, you know,
Yes.
so it's in everybody's interest to sort of pay attention.
So I'll actually just point that out as well, because, well, now ecotourism is only allowed, proposed to be allowed in only the rural and Route 1A district. So do we want to expand that to any other locations?
Yes. If we, what about, the villagey type area, isn't, you know, where the
Yeah.
water is?
Yeah, but I
Here's
think
map.
it all needs to be planning board.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
Just
it,
planning board across the board?
yeah.
I think it does need to be planning board across the
Yeah.
board, except for not allow it in industrial, because,
And
well, who knows? They might,
And
I'll put a
industrial
question mark for that one.
well, I mean, he's growing eels and stuff.
Yeah, but if he had people to come in to tour it, it
Then-
would be
It
more
would-
accessory.
okay.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna wanna camp out on there.
Who knows? I mean, I'll leave a question mark just as a note of, we'll come
Tell you a
back.
funny story about that. Then animal recreation,
What does that
and I
mean?
I
Is that
forget why we
animal
did
recreation?
that. Do you remember, Max? That came up as a
Animal
Is
recreation,
that
I
like
think
dog training or
Dog
something?
dog parks, I think it was dog parks and things of that nature, and I
Nature,
think
yeah.
Holly brought up, other animals as well. I think you brought up
Horseback
other-
riding.
Horseback riding, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
We had put horseback riding somewhere else. We had talked about stables or something.
But
Yeah. There is a riding stable.
Yeah, horse
going on, which is-
operations, commercial,
Right, so
yeah.
I think it was just to be more broad instead of just dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it could be, yeah, donkey rides or
Donkey.
horses.
Yes, donkey rides.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
petting
something
zoos.
that's designed for more people to come
Yeah.
and ride, or children to ride.
Yeah, and typically that's, people have it in a rural area that's close to town, but you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that have some land to it, where you can have trails.
Right.
That's actually a growing industry,
Yeah.
animal care or whatever, so we'll probably see more.
Mm.
Does that look good across the board then?
It's only not allowed in the residential, historic village, Route 1 districts, and industrial.
That probably seems okay. Want to save the Route 1 and,
Well, historic I just didn't put there because we were talking
yeah,
aesthetics and felt that's something we probably didn't want to have. Residential because it's residential. And then Route 1 is more of a toss-up, I'd say.
yeah. Yeah, that's targeted towards
1B maybe.
commercial.
The one that's more in the corridor near closer to town.
I need to go backwards
Yep.
one more time. I'm thinking about the ecotourism again,
Mhm.
and I'm wondering if, so,
Oh, in the residential.
in the residential zone, I'm
There's a lot of
thinking,
zone, there's a lot of activity that can go on there.
yeah, and I'm thinking that's gonna be too broad,
Yeah.
because you certainly don't want tour boats coming up to your neighbor's dock
Yeah.
every hour on the hour.
That
And I
should be
think that
controlled.
should be,
Question mark?
no, I think,
Just
well, I think
eliminated?
it should just be eliminated.
Yeah, well, we did put it in there, I don't think, did we?
I
Yeah,
heard
I heard-
PP across the board except
All right.
industrial.
Yeah,
All right.
and,
But
All right.
I'll strike it, put a question, because we're gonna come back to
Yeah.
it all later. Because I think Aubrey's point was near the water.
right, but I think that because we already, there's, at the
Yeah.
Pine Street
You
Landing,
can do downtown, yeah, there
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
places to do it, for sure.
and that has,
So maybe, so just no question about it even? Just,
that's what I would think, the Pine Street Landing lends itself to commercial use pretty easily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then animal services.
There wasn't any change for animal recreation?
The dog park in the rural village, I don't know.
You find
There.
small ones
There.
popped up all over. You do have, I mean, it would have to be, you're not gonna have a lot of land there to do it. For animal services, we have kennels. Are we thinking of veterinary services?
Animal services, I think they were
We
veterinary,
separated out kennels.
but let me go back to my minutes, see what I have. Because I think it was dog grooming type stuff. Sorry.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, that could be service, retail.
Mhm.
I mean, if they're not keeping the animals there.
Keeping them, yeah, but if it's a grooming and they're there all day barking because they were dropped off in the morning and they're not picked up.
Yeah, they're all over the place. They're,
The groomers.
yeah, I mean, they're like all over.
Yeah, because if it's just yourself, then it's a home occupation
occupation,
type thing.
yeah.
And if you
Even the
get to,
small ones scale now, too, at the
right,
storefront.
if you get to be bigger, then you're into a retail, like the Animal House or
I think I
something.
just saw one at a mall.
What? Oh, no.
Yeah, it was kind of strange.
Wow.
Um, What I'm looking for is veterinary services.
Veterinary services are already allowed.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think where on earth. We talked about these. Should actually have minutes from the office. You might want to just move on to another topic before I'm not getting these.
yeah, why don't we just go to the next one?
Hey, Max, could you, Max, can you give me another one of the charts? I printed out the wrong one. Okay? You know, the definitions. I had one from last week, I didn't get the new one.
I can't
I
remember.
printed
where
out the
we
wrong
put
one,
that.
is what I'm saying.
We have veterinary
But shouldn't
services
there be
and,
a new one? This should still
kennels.
be.
You see, I already had that all marked up. It's not the latest one that you had, right?
I have
No,
a
it's the same one,
question
because we haven't touched.
for you on
talked about
something
this yet.
Oh, okay,
completely
okay.
different.
Got it.
So
These
we
are gonna
have
be
the
added,
resource
right?
protection
Hmm.
zones. Why are they resource protection? Because they're aquifers or because they're
no, that
close
comes
to-
right out of the shoreline zoning delineation. So most of them are within 200, or they're areas that would be within
Right,
250 feet of.
But it's odd to me that, so we
Oh.
have it like that one
That one little strip
and then
there.
that's what I'm looking
It
at.
could be wetland in there or something like that. Yeah, the category that delineates what's in that category is pretty wide. It's, you know, it could be wetland, could be certain types of animal habitat, steep slopes.
Okay,
you
So
know,
I have,
erodible soils.
So I have whatever notes I have for animal services and recreation. So for animal recreation, I had include dog parks, horse trails, and other activities.
All right.
And then for animal services, it was suggested to just keep non-medical animal services and medical services separate, like
Separate.
kennels and
All right.
So
That's where we delineate.
That's like
So
a
that could be
daycare?
the dog care.
Yep, doggy daycare included
Yeah.
in that?
yes,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And that's growing in popularity.
Oh, yeah.
I took forever to find that.
I'm glad you found that, because I lost it. Then business incubator. We talked about having that as a category.
What do you mean by that?
yeah,
I'm not quite sure of it.
Let me see.
That came up in the select board
Yeah,
2 meetings ago.
yeah, this predates that. It came out of this committee.
But I mean, the idea that someone now has a business
Oh,
incubator
yeah,
downtown in the village.
yeah. I don't know if that would come in under another category or something like that.
Business incubator.
Were we thinking of like
We
larger
talking
scale?
about
it was-
taxation? Did we mention taxation last week?
Yeah, that was part of it.
Was
Yeah.
that part of it?
Just because similar to Taction, multiple businesses, and we've talked about this before,
Yeah.
something like a
Yeah.
common workspace,
Right.
but for bigger things, not just
Could
offices.
be a variety, like the tech place at Brunswick Lane.
Or
We have a variety of
or the food
people
plate,
working in there.
or,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
Yeah.
what's it, one of those community kitchen
Two
type things?
kitchens, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Multiple businesses.
Yep.
Shared.
That should be allowed in all the, everywhere we allow industrial or commercial activity. We had a separate category for cafe and delis, or delis. We spelled it the French way or something like that. I'm not quite sure why.
Well, a cafe is not a restaurant because it doesn't necessarily have a kitchen, or it might serve food that's pre-prepared.
It could
I
be,
mean,
yeah.
you know, maybe it makes coffee, but it doesn't actually have a kitchen.
Kitchen.
It doesn't have an exhaust hood,
Yeah. Like a subcategory of a restaurant.
right.
Yeah,
But it
something-
has a much lighter footprint.
Yeah.
For example, Charlotte Davenhill had,
Oh, yeah.
in
Yeah,
her
yeah.
little art studio, had
Yeah.
something similar to what this was envisioned in the back.
Yeah.
Where she would just make some paninis for
Yeah.
people.
Or a bookstore that has a little cafe or
Right.
something like that. And crematoriums.
Hold on, I have a question about cafes and delis. I was just thinking about your lost kitchen type thing in rural area. And I know, you know, in Washington, they have that sweet season,
Yep.
which they have a full kitchen and everything, but what about a possibility for something like that in a rural? Or would that not really fit because they don't have a big kitchen?
I was just seeing where we allow restaurants.
I thought we said we were gonna allow them in the rural.
Rural, but it's not here. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we
Maybe-
did put them in the rural.
So maybe we do allow the cafe
Yeah,
and
cafes
deli.
in the
and-
rural.
Well, yeah, I asked that last
Yeah.
time when we were talking about restaurants and no one said anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because we don't listen to you, Max.
I know,
We try.
I know, I work with Bill, I'm used to it.
Bill just doesn't hear you.
That's true, and he knows that.
Is it planning board or is it also planner CEO?
We put restaurants in planning board.
I think
Right.
that still needs to be planning board.
Okay.
I think, it's in the rural,
Or because, you know, if it's a smaller footprint,
yeah.
we'd have to define it too. We'd have to give it some parameters. If it is supposed to be something that's less intrusive.
The problem is that, so it gets approved by the zoning officer.
And then they get bigger.
And, right, and then it becomes successful, and then the neighborhood complains.
I see, right.
That's,
Let's
Only.
put it PB. Crematoriums. These can be problematic in some
Yeah.
communities and some not.
problematic.
Just, there's a fear factor because of
Oh.
the noise, smell, and they don't really produce that. But,
Smell.
no, they
Oh,
don't. no.
okay.
But
I was gonna
that's,
say-
that's a, you know, yeah. Because they burn at very high temperatures.
Right, I would think,
They
okay.
scrub the.
Yeah, I would think there would be a pretty clean industry. I mean,
Yeah.
and,
I mean, they're popping up. I mean, they're in,
Yeah. And I think they're gonna increase because land's getting used up.
and if we keep, I mean, we have them in the rural, now, rural village and village may not be a route, you know, the Route 1 commercial districts may be more appropriate.
yeah, I think the Route 1, I think the rural is appropriate too, because
Yeah.
you can
Right.
just kind of
Yeah.
hide it.
Show it, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and that's why I also said Route 1A, because
Yeah.
Route 1B, that is
That's right in the
right
down-
behind
yeah.
us. Route 1A is, that's the more rural
yeah,
commercial areas.
I think that's perfect.
Want to drop the rural village and village or
Wait a minute, how are you,
crematoriums?
crematorium?
It's not in there.
That's not in there. Where are you?
I have them in here.
Village, that funeral home that's in the village
Oh, it's not there.
is also
You
a
have an old one
crematorium,
or
so
something.
you would have to allow it since
Yeah,
it's
he
already
does, he
there.
has one from a month ago.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be affected, I guess.
I mean, Thomaston just approved one.
Yeah, I remember this
Is the
last
meeting.
funeral home?
On Main Street?
Crematorium, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not,
Across the
in the
funeral.
more built-up areas.
Yeah. Did Hall, I don't think Hall ever had a problem, did they? The one on Main
No.
Street? So they must have extremely sophisticated equipment, I would imagine,
Yeah,
to
I would think
avoid
so.
complaints.
Yeah.
yeah, they're scalable too, you can get, you know,
Yeah.
there's a large one in Belfast on the east side, it's up in a rural area,
Yeah.
and you don't know what's there.
Quiet.
Yeah, yeah.
Distribution center?
Yeah, or fulfillment center,
Well, I would
Oh.
put that, I would add that, put a slash, because they're very different.
yeah.
technically and I think even legally, but the other is,
Same
Since-
areas and everything?
what?
You're just saying for the only change, distribution/fulfillment center?
Yes, but then the other really is rural, so this is an area I actually know about.
The only-
Most of us want to do these in rural areas because they use a lot of land
Yeah.
and they need a lot of parking and they need 18-wheelers. So
They're gonna have
that's
to
what
be on a
they have to
state
be in
route.
rural
Yeah,
if you really want to have them.
yeah.
Otherwise, you really don't want them because we need a lot of land and the land's cheap in rural. So the last thing we want to do is have expensive land for a fulfillment or distribution center.
Do we want a fulfillment or distribution center in
Well,
Waldeboro?
let me talk about it. So the reason you might want it is the jobs start now at $15 plus. They pay medical and full benefits.
Okay.
And they would hire, if you were lucky enough to get one, they would hire 50 to 100 people or even more. Ours, of course, hired 300 to 400 or 500 people, but that's in a different market. I don't think we'd be likely to get them because of where we are logistically.
Yeah, why not?
But we would be lucky to get them. And
Maybe
the
a
only
smaller
place,
scale or something.
and the only place it'd ever really be would be rural.
And you say the rural areas because cheap land and all that?
And you need a lot of it. You have
Yeah.
18-wheelers, you need parking.
Yeah.
It's, it's not efficient to pay a lot of rent for 18-wheelers.
Right.
And don't you have buildings also where the things are unloaded? and
Oh, you have a whole
stashed, right?
building,
Yeah,
yeah, conveyor
yeah.
belts, yeah. You have-
Big ones.
You have to store
Yeah,
your stuff
yeah.
wherever
Yeah,
you're
right.
sailing and shipping.
Yeah. And the fastest growing part of this now, of course, is fulfillment, not distribution, because retail isn't growing, it's e-commerce is growing.
Right.
Yeah.
So how would that fit on 1B?
Probably, I don't think it
I-
would.
No,
I
it's
just
probably not a lot of
It would.
Yeah, I just included it, again, it's Route 1, commercial. I think the only areas it could fit.
I don't
would-
think you'd want to put it in industrial. That's a-
Well, except for the old
I
Sylvania
think
spot,
these
and I don't know
areas
if we want
right
to,
around here
we
are
don't
the only
Yeah,
want
spots
to
yeah,
put
that
that
would be
there,
included.
because it's a
Industrial
terrible
land
road
is-
for that.
like a high commodity. I mean, that's a valued commodity. I'm not sure.
Right,
And that
and
shouldn't be high, and that shouldn't be low price.
I would give
Yeah.
you, my impression would be, I mean, a mom and pop, if someone had a small e-com biz, they might want to put it on 1A or 1B.
Yeah.
Because maybe they only have 3 or 4 or 5 people.
Right.
You know, for example, the Jehovah is a small
Yeah, right,
distribution.
sure, okay,
But they
yep.
only have like 3
Yeah,
people.
can
I
handle
see.
people.
So, but if you're talking about a real
Yeah.
thing,
Big.
I'm thinking like Amazon or something.
or
like-
even,
Yeah.
even something,
Okay.
yeah, you know. it
well,
would
even
never-
like Rennie's
acres
in
and
Newcastle is,
Right, it's
Yeah.
it's
Big.
Or
close.
Walmart
Okay.
in Lewiston or
Yeah.
wherever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in Auburn, Lewiston.
Which
Which
one?
one?
You just
Walmart.
mentioned something about.
Didn't they build one?
What, Mark?
well,
Walmart.
it's right now, the Sylvania property
Oh,
is.
Let me
in-
tell you why the Sylvania, you know, I had a really interesting conversation with Janet. No one that I know would ever want to touch this site, given the environmental.
Oh, yeah.
When you would buy an environmental site, you inherit every one of those liabilities. So unless a company, and it isn't clear who, but this Chinese company may not really be able even to give you a warranty that they would absorb it. So we would never touch a site like Sylvania, it's
Yeah.
too dangerous legally.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
we deal with brownfield sites all the time, and there are mechanisms where we can,
But she went through with me
Identify,
the
yeah.
contamination there and the
Yeah.
limits. I mean, I have experience getting brownfields. We got one
Yeah.
from the federal government, but they did certain things that I don't think these people in Sylvania did.
Yeah.
So do we want to take the distribution center out of the industrial
I
zone?
would,
I agree, it's unlikely.
yeah, that's valuable land for
Mhm.
like manufacturing or.
Yep.
So
Well, we
no,
can't put it anywhere
so
else.
no to industrial, but what was the decision on Route
Leave it.
1A and B?
Get it out of one,
Well, I would leave
B.
it because it's planning board and you can.
He's saying maybe something
It's planning
small
board
like
and it'd
Rehoboth.
be highly unlikely except for someone who wanted to do,
A smaller group,
Yeah,
tiny,
maybe
tiny.
small, yeah,
Yeah.
but the big thing would be rural.
yeah.
Route 1. Okay.
All right, Event centers, we have 2 categories, major and minor. The minor one is, we have limited it, we created some draft performance standards, and we limited it to just a certain number of times, or a number of times per year that they could use the facility, and it was designed to be used in conjunction with an existing activity, whether it's agriculture or something else. And the event center, major, would be a facility that's designed specifically for, like a convention.
Like a
kind of
civic
stuff.
center.
Yeah, a civic center, kind of, something like that. And the event centers are supposed to be the minor, they're used seasonably or on a seasonal basis, or for smaller venues.
Would that be, what about like a concert, outdoor concert type of thing? There's a lot of those that seem to
Yeah,
be
that's
popping
not,
up.
I think we
I
put.
guess that depends, is it like,
You know, they build a stage.
Staging.
yeah,
We put the performance standards that bands or whatever had to be on the inside.
Yeah,
There-
okay,
No, nothing on the outside.
yeah.
And that would be a separate category if we wanted to do that.
Those seem reasonable.
Yeah. Food processing for breweries, distilleries, and vineyards. Or processing for breweries.
Do most of the local ones already have that within their property?
Mhm.
Yeah.
wait, which one are we talking about?
Processing. for
Breweries, distilleries, and vineyards.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then food trucks.
So the food trucks, is that for temporary food trucks?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're just coming for,
X amount, yeah.
yeah, for like 30 days or even a
Maybe the
week?
summer
Take
at most.
Summer,
Yeah,
okay.
right.
And then the food truck center is if they wanted,
We aggregate them, that's
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
popular.
Be a more
yeah,
permanent
I know they
location.
glow. I
I
would,
just saw it
I
last
did
night.
too.
Great idea.
Do you have control in your function about where they go? I mean, like if neighbors don't want, I mean, what kind of discretion do you have?
When you're saying where they can go, do you mean like if I bought one and put it in front of my house, or what?
Or, let's say, and yet, let's say your neighbors didn't like the traffic, the foot traffic. I mean, what kind of discretion does the town have?
We have to have performance standards for them.
Right,
Yeah,
foot
they have to
traffic at
be.
least.
Yeah, well, traffic, off-street parking, safe access, they have to be off on a piece of property, they can't be on the road. or
These
in
are
the
all
right of way.
little things that are written in when someone comes in with an application, right, to a
Right.
planning board. That's, it's very stringent,
Yeah, well, we have to
restrictions.
kind of set some
yeah.
standards, yeah, and we don't want them in residential neighborhoods. They're not designed really for that. They're for more commercial areas.
One thing I kept going back and forth on, should it be called food trucks or just seasonal restaurants?
It should be called food trucks,
Food trucks.
that's what they're called.
That's what there are, yeah.
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 Okay.
Seasonal restaurant can be something completely
Food
different.
truck
Yeah.
center, we
Yeah.
can change the name
So the
for
food
that.
truck center in the village, it's kind of,
Well, if you
Where?
look, well, if you
I mean,
look at your map, it's anywhere that's blue.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
Actually,
it
that's
goes
where
way
you
up.
find a lot of them.
Yeah, and I'm wondering though, those little pockets that have not done anything, those
Yeah.
rural
Rural village,
village
yeah.
might make a, might
better
Perfect.
spot.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's better, but it might be even in addition to,
yeah,
Yeah, because the village is really,
because those are kind of nice
Residential.
crossroads, and it seems like that,
Is
Yeah.
Cider
Definitely
Hill,
more food in
is
North
Cider Hill
Marlboro.
considered to be in the village?
yeah.
Yes.
Because that would be the one place, I think, where I could
Yeah.
envision having this.
What did you
That would
say?
be a great place
Where?
for
Yeah.
something
Cider
like
Hill?
that.
Oh,
To
sorry.
having a whole
Yeah.
bunch of
Oh.
food trucks,
Right.
because it wouldn't really, shouldn't bother anybody. It's-
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a couple, in some urban areas, they'll carve out somebody will have a small lot that tore a building down, and they'll put 5 or 6 of them in. You know,
Yeah.
and it's kind of, and it's worked out reasonably well. You know.
especially if they have good food.
Yeah, yeah.
So, are we including rural village?
Yeah,
for food truck centers.
food truck, yeah.
And
What's another name? We don't wanna call it a center. What do they call
What?
them in Booth Bay?
The lights aglow?
Yeah,
Trucks,
I'm-
trucks
truck-
aglow?
Was it,
No.
is it,
Trucks
no,
Food
it's,
trucks.
it's,
Terminal?
what is it? No, they just had a name for it, it was good.
Do you remember?
Right in, like, right,
Let me Google it.
Campus?
Okay, yeah,
Oh,
something like that,
campus.
something, yeah.
it was packed.
Food Truck City.
Yeah. Wasn't that a grocery store?
Love it, yeah.
Food trucks a go.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something else besides center.
a mobile food park.
Oh,
That's
works.
better.
I'm only parodying the mobile
Truckapalooza.
home park thing, so before people take it too seriously.
We'll put something in there to take out the
Food
word
a
center.
go-go.
Food in Waldeboro, please. Please.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy across, a couple of years ago. We had
Yeah,
a-
by Irving.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there was one on the other side, too.
Oh,
Right.
across from Irving, that was Jeff's
Was
hot
it
dog
Jeff?
stand.
Right, yeah. Who, and what about that building that's across from Irving? Whose is that? Because it looks like someone's doing something in there
Yeah,
now.
that just got sold.
It did get sold.
It did
Oh,
get
okay.
sold. He took the
Oh,
trailer.
The pawn shop?
Yeah, the pawn shop.
No,
just
no,
got-
No.
but wait,
Oh.
not the pawn shop, but directly across from Irving where Jeff
Oh.
used to have his, it's like a gray,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
someone's
that-
in there doing something now. It's the
I
first
don't-
time in a
He
million
had
years I've seen the
World
lights
War
on.
II antiques
He
or
does.
something in there.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Some
open
away.
sometimes, but,
It came up in the summer.
yeah.
Oh, okay, like yards, okay.
Yeah, it's
And
all
the pawn
World War
shop
II.
got sold as well?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know what's
Because
going
I
on.
know
Town
the
is
trail.
big.
He's not, he was talking about doing like a farm stand, I think, because he's going to grow vegetables somewhere else, I
Oh.
think.
The
I'm
gray
not
building guy?
Sure. The pawn shop.
Oh, the
guy.
pawn shop. Oh, really?
Yeah, although he was passing the rumor around there was going to be Topless Donut Shop.
I'm sorry.
Just,
No.
that was just a rumor, that was just a
Yeah.
joke.
There was one in Vassalboro that burned down.
Yeah, that was just a joke because everybody was asking.
It was a hot place.
I figured that. Yep.
All right.
All right, group home facility.
So those we can't, those,
Well, no,
Just-
this is,
These are new.
yeah, this would be a new category. The other one is 8 or fewer.
Oh,
And those
okay.
we have
Yeah.
to treat
Yeah.
wherever there's
Oh, so this
resident.
is-
This would be a larger,
Yep.
larger facility.
And what are our rights with this facility in state law?
This we can allow, we're not subject to any restrictions on this one. The other one, the community living
Yeah,
facility,
you went through that with
we
us.
have to
Right.
allow them wherever single-family residentials are
I
allowed.
believe.
Question, a group home facility, that would be a new construction? Because I'm looking in the historic village.
Well, it could be, it could be adaptive reuse of an existing building. That happens sometimes.
What's
Yeah,
your
they got them in
what's your
Thomas Street,
advice on
right?
this? And what are
Four.
the
Right, a
issues?
couple in Thomas Street.
Yes.
But they've kept the
I think,
buildings.
I think it
beautiful.
was
Right.
suggested to
Right,
have,
right.
I think it was suggested to have that in, just to keep it separate from the medical ones that we can't have too many regulations on.
Yeah.
If I recall that correct, but I can't find that in the minutes.
What kind of discretion do you have, or what do you recommend? I mean, the planning board, what would be the criteria you'd recommend?
I mean, just the typical things of access, safety, traffic, you know.
Right.
Is it scaled to the neighborhood or something like that?
Are there
You know.
architectural requirements if it's in the historic village?
Yes, that's a
Yeah.
standard.
There are.
Yes.
And
They're
what
pretty
about
limited.
What about abutter rights?
Well, abutters don't have any
If-
rights unless they're subject to the land use ordinance.
Take it
They
out
don't
of
have a
con-
say in it.
So give me the kind of uses that a group, this large
Group
group
home.
home would have.
They would be notified since it's going to the planning
I mean,
board.
this could be anything from, services to seniors or disabled or, what do they call, halfway homes?
So let me just play devil's advocate. So let's say there's a halfway home with people that had serious sentences and now they're in halfway home.
Yeah.
And we're in a place with just half-acre lots, and the abutters are very uncomfortable. They don't mind seniors, they don't mind
Yeah.
all these other things, but they're thinking like, geez, I don't feel comfortable with my children being next to some of these people. Some of them might, you know, are there, if there's, what if there's on the offender registry?
Agreed,
You know-
that's a big
you know-
deal.
You know, how is it
Yeah,
gonna
we
affect my
don't.
children?
We would have to regulate that specifically. That gets pretty iffy when we,
Iffy legally or iffy?
iffy legally, you know, on that.
Is
We
it
have
our job to
We can set
regulate them?
things like, you know, distance from schools or
Yeah.
things like that. That we can do.
But can't we regulate where they're going? I mean,
Yes, we
rural,
can.
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
let's
These were
focus
all-
on that because,
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can
That's a
keep
big
them
deal.
out of the more denser
So
areas.
this is
Yeah.
for 9 or more people.
Yeah, it could be,
But,
Yeah.
but let's.
For
Okay.
But any
non-medical
kind
reasons,
of-
this
Let
is
me
any
give
reason.
you devil's
Okay.
advocate. If there were 15 people that had ALS and and multiple sclerosis and cerebral palsy, most people would not have any objection to a group home that took care of them
right,
because of who they are.
Yeah.
But if it was, you know, for someone that was halfway and had a criminal record, that would be very different.
that's a big deal.
I think, let me
Yeah,
make
you-
sure I got this right. I think the reasoning we wanted this group home facility is because hospitals, nursing, and convalescent homes, something along those lines, as well as the congregate care facilities
are targeted.
are targeted for the medical items,
Yeah,
but we wanted to have the group home facility for those non-medical reasons. So those people with ALS you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Those would be allowed in all these
Different
areas,
category.
yes. And we can have,
So that we can then take these and say, we don't want them in these
Exactly.
areas.
So we need
Correct.
this category.
So we need this category.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
well done. So then let's talk
Yes.
about it.
And let's not put it.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
so,
you
Can we
can
just,
only go so far. There was an example in Warren
right.
where they, the planning board denied the application, and they got sued on constitutional
What
grounds.
was it?
That
What was
was
the group?
marijuana,
What was the
wasn't it?
group home?
No,
It
but like
was-
methadone.
oh, I remember
Yeah.
that.
Methadone,
That
yeah.
was a big deal.
Yeah, it was for
So methadone
drug
clinic.
treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
methadone.
because I remember
So
that.
there, you have to be very, very careful. That's why I say you can limit things like that to,
To
you know,
rural.
measurable items, like we don't want it near a school or something like that. Or we don't
If it's
want it
rural,
in
it
a
could still
dense
be near
area
Madomic.
of
So
town. But
can-
but you
High and
can't exclude
I
by
see.
class.
So can we say we only want it on like Route 1A commercial
Only on the
Yeah.
industrial park.
and
Right.
industrial park?
Go for that. I'm in.
Well, I'm kidding on the industrial park.
I'm not kidding. I mean, it's not ever gonna happen in there.
So that's,
I,
I agree.
Yeah, but there is, I mean, some of these things there's a need for. You know, most of the time, they're gonna go into more urban areas because there's more availability
But if you
And
think
of
about,
services
Right,
and things
because-
like that.
Very often they need transportation.
Right.
Yeah. And the hospital, everything is far away from here.
but
so,
if we think about wanting people to come to Waldeboro, if we have this type of facility in our downtown, I mean,
I know, I think it's a
So-
mistake.
And we have to
I
think
really
about,
do.
we have to think of the
Yeah.
reality of drug treatment. The reality is that there's a very high percentage of people that unfortunately, even in these treatment centers, reacquaint themselves with
Yeah.
hard drugs.
Yeah.
Right,
So, and remember, and there's criminal things because they're dealing with dealers. Remember, they don't just get the drugs now, they can't get a prescription, so they're going in there. There's a lot of nexuses around here, and we've seen this in big cities I've been in. And maybe rural, but boy, if I was a parent with children, and you told me that the methadone treatment was even 2 doors down, I would be very uncomfortable.
yeah.
I would not be a
Yeah.
happy camper.
Yeah.
No.
They have to go somewhere, though.
Yeah.
so if I can start taking some shots in the dark right now, out of residential, out of downtown, out of historic village.
Yeah, all those dense areas.
So the question I think is
I'd say
village.
rural village too.
You would take it out of rural village or
There's
leave it
really
in
no
rural?
I'd take it out.
opportunities in those areas.
There
for
isn't. I
something
mean,
Like this.
I still think it just
I-
has to be commercial Route 1.
And I
agree.
would say maybe rural.
I don't know. I live in a rural area. I would sell.
Okay. well,
I mean,
that's-
I'm just from my perspective. I have 4 young kids at home,
I get
and
it.
I
I'm
I
there.
would leave. Like, there's not enough to
So,
hold me here.
does
that
this-
if that got
would
built
this
next door?
Include, it wouldn't include a correctional facility because that's somewhere, those
No,
are other
correctional
places.
facilities.
That's a government institution.
Right, and that,
But it could include like a halfway house
Right, but
or,
I would, I
just
would
as an
have to
example.
assume that anybody that does the halfway house is gonna do up to 8 people because they're,
No, they could do more. I mean, it would be someone like released from jail, they're not on parole, and this is a
That's
place for them to stay for X period of time until they get settled.
Well, 1A is a great spot because it's easy to get to work. You
Yeah.
can just hop right on Route 1 and go to your job
Yeah,
instead of being out in rural area where you
yeah,
have to
rural
drive.
area won't have the transportation.
right.
Right,
So
okay,
probably 1A and B would be
okay.
Well, and I was thinking just one,
1A.
A,
Just, okay. Planning board, I assume.
yeah.
And taking out village and rural village as well?
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Green cemeteries. I know we talked about this, but I can't remember. It was a kind of an art of a definition of
Is there some kind of,
a
like
movement.
government thing regulating that? I know in Vermont, it's a big deal now and, yeah, I think there have been some issues, but I don't know what there has to be some kind of state regulation, right? It's not just us
Yeah,
dealing, yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming they're not in, concrete vaults, when they
Right.
put the caskets so they decay naturally. I mean, usually you look towards which your aquifers are and things like that. you know. You'd find them in rural areas, mostly if it's something new.
So if it was in the, downtown, where would they,
I don't know that there's any room.
is there room?
You know,
Like,
really.
okay.
I only did that across the
Just
board
across
just because it's,
to fill.
just because of cemeteries as well.
Yeah.
I think Daryl said there, no, he doesn't tax them.
Actually, they're considered subdivisions.
That's the favorite, that's the fact you
Cemeteries.
always bring up.
Yeah.
I think it's the wave of the future, so.
We don't want them in industrial.
Or downtown is always in,
Yeah.
anywhere else.
I would say rural. You don't want them in our commercial districts.
Mm-mm.
The land consumptive. So we have them in rural.
And that's it,
Yep.
okay.
And then land-based aquaculture. Rural, Route 1A and B, and industrial. These may or may not be dependent on finding a suitable water source nearby, so.
Right.
Depends on what
s-
they're doing.
I'm sorry, just going back to green cemeteries, only taking out from downtown Route 1s and industrial?
No.
No, everything except
Rural.
rural,
Green cemeteries only allowed in rural.
in rural.
And that's just for land space, I assume?
Yeah.
To land constraints. Okay. And then land-based aquaculture,
Rural, 1A, B, 1A and B, and industrial.
It's quite a well they'd have to have in the rural.
yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking, sometimes some of these facilities can be rather small, too.
Oh, cool.
So, they're not always large. Or for oyster seed and whatever, clam
Right.
seed, they're pretty small.
Well, American Unagi is specifically using a well that's only in the industrial
Yeah,
zone.
But that's a larger facility.
That is.
Yeah.
But there's certainly some access that they could try and get in
Hmm.
those areas on Route 1 and even in the rural.
So same thing with this too, there are regulations as far as wastewater? Where do they dump all of the icky
They
water?
filter it out, and then, that's what the
Well, that's at
Unagis
least
do.
American
Yeah.
Unagi, yeah.
Yeah, most
But they do
that.
have to get DEP approval
Okay,
and
so
a
there,
yeah.
okay,
Army Corps, I
Right.
think.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be fish waste, I mean, some sort of.
yeah,
And whatever nutrients they put in, most of it's
right.
pretty natural for the most part.
But there is regulation for that once.
For that,
For
yeah.
the, okay.
Right.
And it depends on what they're doing, and,
Mhm.
yeah. Marine recreation. Do you remember? why we had that.
That might have actually been the,
The clay
things
made
that,
or something.
yeah. might have
Oh,
been.
maybe.
No, maybe, I can't remember.
Let me see. Marine recreation. New items for uses such as kayak rentals. So I think that was actually it, more like just having one of those kayak stands
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
nearby.
Something, yeah,
Or
boat rental.
because, yeah, the only thing that was allowed was CP. So I think it was like having a little shack on Vine Street
Yeah.
just so someone can sell whatever gear.
Yeah.
So I think that,
Or maybe using a dock for your own personal, going from your own personal dock to accessing the water, because that might be why I also included residential, which I know you were probably going to talk about.
well, I was just gonna say, if it's gonna be a commercial marine recreation, I think it needs to go before planning board, if it's gonna be in the any of the residential zones. Because I think that,
Right.
And when you say marine recreation, and you just mentioned kayaks, you're not saying like jet skis or other things that are allowed,
I think
right? I mean, there's.
kayak, I think, was just the word used. I think it's anything that's
Could
recreation
be
on the
boat
water.
rental.
Yeah,
Could be.
could be boat rental.
and we already have jet skis, there's not very many of them, but you hear them on the river occasionally, not very often.
But like,
But do you want someone to open up a marine recreation spot with jet skis beside you?
Can we regulate that? I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, we can regulate the access, sure. You know.
Might be.
anything you can always do, we can always put in specific performance standards for these items.
Would include the noise level.
So you can,
Yeah.
so like in the
The noise
residential area,
levels
you could
for
say
everyone.
non-motorized
Yeah.
Yeah.
but rental of boats.
Automatically when they go to the.
Non-motorized,
Right.
that's not, I mean,
Yeah.
to me, a kayak or a canoe's a lot different than a,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
want kayaks
right.
next to me.
right,
I won't.
I mean, I don't want
jet skis.
jet skis
I wouldn't
next to
either.
me.
Not if I just bought oceanfront land or whatever. All right, so that'd be non-motorized marine recreation?
No, that would have to be in the
In the, yeah, the regs, in the performance standards.
Okay.
So we would want that for the,
Well, I think that we're talking, we might be talking two different, a motorized one and a non-mo, because Pine Street Landing, although there are houses around there, they
that's
might not
really
like it.
suited for motorized.
Right.
No.
I think
It's
it.
tidal,
That's
even
because it's
kayak.
tidal, eventually
Yeah.
you're gonna, your motor is gonna get stuck on the rocks,
Yeah,
you know, as you sail through, right? Because it's
Well,
not-
and Dutch
it's
Neck
shallow.
isn't suitable for big time,
no.
Right.
so I,
No, it's not really.
So we could take that out of residential, if that's
Yeah.
what we're hinting at.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Good.
Bless you.
Well, bless you. But, so now I'm gonna argue against myself.
All right, it's going back in.
No, but having kayak rentals at Dutch Neck or the Pine Street Landing makes perfect
That would make
sense.
perfect,
Nice.
yeah.
Right.
So it has, so we need to have some non-motorized use.
Yeah,
Well, this will go back into the overlay discussion we'll have later.
because it would be nice if people could go to Pine Street Landing and rent a kayak. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Actually, there was
Would
somebody
come.
who was interested in
in
doing
person,
that
people who rent
recently.
kayaks specifically love the
Never
quiet,
thought of
Absolutely, and it's
Well-
perfect
Yeah.
place right there. We just redesigning, it'd be nice to have that.
yeah.
Well, I think it comes down to how, if some places in the shoreland zone, how much of an impact, how's it gonna work together? Because, like, for example, on Dutch Neck Marine Park, that would
The
be,
first
that would be,
250
yeah, the
is,
first
yeah,
250 is,
Shoreline.
commercial fisheries.
Marine, yeah,
Marine
marine
fisheries. So commercial uses are allowed with planning board approval.
Right now they are, but
Right.
we haven't got to the point.
We haven't gotten there yet. I know that, but I'm
I
saying,
doubt that's gonna change.
I'm saying hypothetically,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
have this same
Yeah.
thing, but with this
Yeah.
new thing as well. Dutch Neck is in, well, the marine park is in the residential, along with the rest of Dutch Neck.
Right, because currently that commercial marine commercial district is an overlay zone,
Right.
which changes things because
Right.
the more restrictive takes
Yeah, we're gonna-
precedence.
We're gonna
That's-
eliminate
So
the
you're
overlay
gonna
concept.
eliminate that,
Yeah,
but then that
we have to look at
means-
the use chart more carefully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, the shoreline zoning use chart, in some respects, is more restrictive.
Right,
And
the
other
shoreline zoning
Yeah.
is, but the commercial marine district is
It's
not.
No.
Right.
But right now, the commercial marine district is,
Well, and I'll give a different example. Benny's. That is in the village, or 110 Kaler's, you know, right across
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the middle school.
It's in the shoreline.
That is in the general development area.
Yeah.
But it's in the village as well.
general development, the marine develop,
No, general
No,
development.
general
If you look at
development.
Mill
The
Street,
shoreline zone.
you'll see a
Oh,
tiny
Built
little
area.
red
Yep.
spot
Yeah.
at the M.
yep.
Yeah.
That is where
Yep.
Benny's is, and
Yeah.
the American Legion. So if someone wanted to do a commercial activity there, that's
They
not
could.
under the current allowed commercial activities, like let's say, I don't know,
Retail or something.
retail, yeah, let's say retail's not allowed in the village, but commercial is allowed in the general development. Who do we allow, which one allows it? That's what I'm trying to
That's
say
where
with the
we're gonna
overlay.
have to sort out.
Right, right, and it was always my understanding that overlay district, whatever the more restrictive is,
Right.
takes precedence.
But yeah, it just got so unwieldy to try
Right.
to figure it out. But
So,
we could sort that out,
Later.
yeah,
yeah.
that being said, having non-motorized boat rentals at Dutch Neck makes sense. I mean, or at Pine Street Landing,
We could just
Right.
put another category in there.
yeah.
For
Non-motorized.
non-motorized boat rental use, yeah. And just say it's allowed. We can simply do that.
Is there any place that rents motorized boats at all? in the
Yeah,
town?
well,
Well, jet skis, I think, is the thing everyone was talking about, I thought.
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
Really
Jeff's
have a
Marine
marina
will
on the
do it
water.
and they will bring it
To-
to the landing
yeah.
or to your dock or
Yeah.
whatever, but
Yeah.
there's
But it's not
nobody in.
easy to,
No,
Yeah, right.
it's not like they have them
right.
tied up or something.
And
Yeah,
even though I
well-
think that it could be allowed, I still think it needs planning board because you're still surrounded
For
by,
non-motorized?
yeah, you're still surrounded by residences pretty well populated in both places.
It might be overkill for the.
Not if you live next door
Non-motorized.
to it, right?
I think we could just put some limits on the size. The non-motorized ones are pretty small
Yeah.
scale, for the most part. It's probably a rack that they.
Yeah. Well, I've seen the ones over in Camden, which are pretty sweet.
Yeah. There's a guy in Damascotta does it. He does it down here
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
I mean, it's really just a rack. He
Yep.
must have 8 or 10 of them.
Yeah,
or
well, they
something.
come to Dutch Neck all the
Oh,
time
yeah.
to drop them off.
Yeah.
I mean, we have rentals that,
They serve, yeah.
yeah, they serve our rentals and,
So let's have another category. Non-motorized boat. All right.
Non-motorized?
Yep.
Non-motorized rentals or what?
Yeah, I would say rental, yeah. 'Cause, I mean, if somebody goes down there with their own kayak, we don't want to regulate that.
No,
That's at
no.
all.
The reason I ask is because if we're saying non-motorized rentals, that really goes separate from marine recreation. Because this
It
could
has to
also
be
apply
separate.
to
Yeah,
land-based stuff as
yeah,
well.
yeah. This would be separate category,
All right,
different category.
just making sure we're aware.
Yep. And then pawn shop we have as a separate category.
Yeah, why isn't that just a retail?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that was because, ironically, the place in front of us. Let me check.
I mean, in the old days, they used to be seedy places, but
Sanford
Used to be
pointed,
what?
seedy.
Oh, right, yeah.
all I have is that it just doesn't exist in the current allowed uses, and someone wanted it to be
A separate
a
category.
separate category.
Yeah, I would say just retail.
I think it's
Has the
just
same
retail, it's no
impact.
difference.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, they have to file reports with the police department when they take something in. But
And what
outside
about,
of that-
if it's in retail, they have the same, regulations as far as like
Parking
leaving
and-
stuff outside,
Yeah,
Yep.
all, right?
yes,
So just cross that out.
yeah. Pet store, I would say,
Just very quickly, marine recreation, were we ever changing the CP to PB? Or just come back to it later?
we'll come back to that. We were gonna take it out of residential, since we have the separate category.
Right.
Yeah. Pet store, do we need a separate category for pet stores?
I would think that that would, well,
It's not non-animal services.
it's still retail, I would think.
It's
Yeah.
retail, yeah. Sometimes, it wouldn't make any difference, the fact that they have live animals? Is that any?
Well, you're still gonna have to
enter into
go through planning board
Right.
for screening or for noise or for,
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
and they're gonna have to go through the state health department probably for live animal
Yeah.
sales.
so it is retail.
yeah, you don't see small ones anymore.
No.
It's all
And-
PetSmart or.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
larger.
I think that was just the only question of if we want to include selling of live pets in retail or not. That was the only thing.
Oh, I
Well,
don't-
but we already have, I mean, you can get live animals at RZR, they have sell chickens in the spring,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
yeah,
All right.
Um,
So
Yep.
strike as well?
yeah. Renewable structures.
Like windmills?
We have
Yes.
to define, the windmills, solar, do we want?
This would be windmills, solar,
Yeah.
any renewable energy source for your own home or
Or
commercial use, yeah.
so.
Yeah, obviously, commercial's planning board, and renewable is CP. I mean, home-based,
So if you wanna put solar panels on your house, you need to come in? Or is this for solar panels that are on the ground, like a
you need to
pole?
get a permit for 'em.
Right now, you get a building permit. Again, I did CP because I'm halfway on that one. I don't know if people want to just still keep it as code enforcement officer or just.
Well, I think the windmills are different than solar, I mean, windmills are noisy when you get up close to them. Well, I don't know about
Yeah.
I don't know about the small residential
We're not
ones.
seeing the small ones.
No,
up
and there are a
there.
bunch of regulations about that too, right? I mean,
Well,
the
No,
fact
that
that-
you have to have.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
the
it's
only
like-
one that I see is the one on 32 when I drive by it.
Right.
And the lighting is just amazing.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
Yeah,
I'm 32.
yeah.
On
North or
what's
south?
the south?
It'd be
Yeah.
around this
It's around
area.
700 or
Yeah.
750.
Aubrey,
Yeah.
it's around here.
yeah.
Yeah, I just can't
That's
picture
been there for
windmill
a
being there.
while.
It is a structure that is all lit up, and it's only half done, I think.
So it's new, because I haven't been
Is it
down there
new?
since the
I thought
summer.
Yep. been
Yep,
there.
they came in, I think,
Oh, I'm thinking of
within a
something
year.
else. I'm thinking of something else.
But,
Is that the one across from the doctor's office?
Somewhere around there.
And there's a recreation thing in the back, on the other side of the street.
Oh, there is that's close by, yeah, they have like model trains or something
Yeah.
back
What?
there. Some kind, well, it's not model, I think it's bigger than
Oh,
model, I'm not
where
sure what the
the-
term is.
I know what you're talking about. The Kastner's place?
It's spectacular, that windmill.
I don't know. It's only partially done and there's a ladder up there, but it's all lit up.
Yeah,
So I think solar panels on your house are different than solar panels, a bunch of them in your field too. So I think maybe you do need the CP,
Right.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
because you'll have performance standards, I'm assuming, some type of standard for
Right, and-
lighting and,
Right, and there already is one for
Towers.
small wind towers,
Yeah.
yeah. So we can have specific ones for solar as well.
And then short-term rentals we put in.
oh. So you have to,
I don't know if we want that, or.
What does that mean?
That's
Airbnb.
what
Airbnbs.
That's why I'm asking. Airbnb would be, I would assume.
I only put it in because that was the
Yeah.
hot topic back in, when did we start this? May?
So you're saying if someone wanted to be part of Airbnb, they have to go to you, the code enforcement officer?
Code enforcement officer.
What would they, and what would be the ruling? How would the code enforcement officer, what would be the performance standards?
We haven't,
I think it
We're
was,
not, we're not
Well, I-
recommending it, but
right, I think it was just similar to a regular home, really. Make sure there's, or a mixture of home and regular B&B of a smoke detector at least.
yeah, the only thing that applies, depending on how many rooms, would be
Right.
the life safety code. I mean, it does govern means of egress, smoke detectors, if it's a small, if it's just in a residential building and there's just, a bedroom, but if it's a large number of rooms, that bumps that up into a different category
but-
for,
But the most common Airbnb is someone renting their entire house.
Right.
So.
well, not necessarily,
Well,
they're both.
Well, they're both, but
Yeah.
even in New York, it's a condominium, and here, if you look, I mean, we're doing it now ourselves in a trip we're planning, and it's either a home or it's an entire condominium. So how would you, what are you gonna, I just don't understand what's the person gonna tell the CEO when they say, I wanna rent my whole home in Airbnb for a month?
I think we're opening up a can of worms
Yeah,
here.
I wanna understand the requirement, I'm never gonna do this personally.
Right.
But I just wanna understand what are the criteria that someone says your home can be an Airbnb and your home can't be? Or your condo can be and what's the
I
criteria?
only just put that in because that was the topic everyone was talking about back in May, and
I understand the
and I'm getting,
Yeah.
I understand
I
the
still get people
multi-unit.
asking, is this a
The
thing?
community has to identify how they're gonna regulate it based on some perceived negative impact from the Airbnb, whether it's taking away rental apartments, whether it's
Right.
causing nuisances to neighborhoods.
And I
That,
think-
that does happen
I think-
sometimes.
And-
You wait until you start getting,
Yeah,
Others,
But I don't,
You're
but I
getting
want performance
complaints.
standards, because otherwise, to me, it's.
I
it-
mean,
Well,
the only
yeah,
thing I could
yeah.
say is what I've just said, where the city
Based on
could
the-
do a usual certificate of occupancy inspection, or what specific standards we have for a bed and breakfast.
Then let me play more devil's advocate. Okay, this federal law allows people, again, I've never rented my home, my whole entire
Right.
life, and never will. But it allows people 14 days a year to rent their home. Forgetting Airbnb, either rent it personally
Right.
or use Airbnb. Would you make a distinction between Airbnb and the fact of someone just renting their home for 14 days tax-free?
For the entire year?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
apples and oranges, though. That's the tax code. We're not dealing
I
with that.
understand, but the
We're
point I'm
dealing
making
with-
is, if
but-
I rented
well,
14 days.
Yeah,
Of the whole
personally
year?
Or
Yeah.
no, just one off, 14 days Airbnb, one off, or 14 days with Airbnb. Is that subject to CEO?
Just a one-off 14-day thing?
the rules have to come from the perceived negative impact, if there is any. And I'm not aware of any, so I don't know how we would have put
so,
performance standards in
But
place.
that's what bothers me,
whatever
is
they are.
it's so arbitrary. I mean, someone could do 14 days either with Airbnb or not, or they could do it twice a year and it's 28 days. Or there are people that do it literally 6 months a year, and some of them do it 11 months a year and only live in their place 1 month a year. I mean, Airbnb is a lot of different ways in
Right,
which it's
yeah.
configured. Because most of what we've done here so far is really descriptive, there are rules, you could say it's under, this to me is just like completely arbitrary. It has no definition around it. And if I just would like to have a definition.
Yeah, well, again, it has to come from,
We'd
What-
be looking at other
Yeah.
towns that have already been taking a shot at
well,
this.
it has to come from what Waldeboro, if Waldeboro perceives this to be a problem, then we identify the
No,
problem,
but-
and then we solve the problem by some performance standard.
so I don't see this being a problem in
Yeah.
Waldeboro.
Okay,
I think that we just nix the whole line.
okay.
I don't, I know, I rent in a community, Yeah, no,
I'll
no,
say
I-
it again. I only put that in there
Yeah.
because
'Cause-
back in
right.
May, there were dozens of articles, there were towns
Right.
doing this nonstop.
I know,
and-
well, it's a problem in Camden now, and it's a problem in Rockland now, and they're looking at it. And I rent for a month
and-
in a community, and it's a historic district, and the neighbor said, we don't want transients, you need to
And-
rent 30 days or more. And so,
A short-term rental item,
That's
that
what
was
they
something
do.
that the committee brought
Then
up.
could we at least the next meeting get Camden's rules behind it so we understand like what the texture is?
I would say no. If we're
No,
not, if
right.
it's not a
The
problem at
problem-
Waldeboro,
Yeah.
It's
we
not
don't
a-
want to deal with it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I
mean, it's
don't
like,
think- I don't think we wanna-
Don't go there unless, you're opening up a big can of worms,
yeah,
big time. If, unless like I say, unless there's some sort of perceived negative impact.
At some point, the only time I would see a negative
Negative
impact
impact.
is possibly in the downtown area, if it becomes where you're having changeovers all,
Yeah.
but we should be so lucky to have that problem here in
We
town.
don't
Yeah.
have that problem.
Right, we don't have that problem.
And I'm sure people are doing it, but it's not to the scale or,
Right,
There
So we're
have
gonna put
been-
the
Causing a
worms
nuisance.
back in the can.
yes.
There have been some problems in our neighborhood before we moved in, I understand, where they would rent on a turnover kind of basis
Yeah.
from like April through October. And it was absolutely horrendous because they had no control. The people who lived there weren't there. And.
but the
um,
winter rental is traditional.
Yeah, but this was,
these
they
guys,
were,
so.
I don't know what you would call it, it was like, I'm sure people rent cottages, 2-week stays throughout the
right.
whole state. But it didn't work here, because it just didn't, they had no control, the owners lived out of state. And that's what happens, you don't know the people who come in, and they do come in for a week or two at a time. And it finally wound up having a fire, and the people were throwing mattresses out the window. They had no control. And, our neighborhood on Glidden Street, I mean, it's this lovely little neighborhood, people are like, holy shit, what's going on here? So, because it's become such a big thing, I think the lack of control, kind of what you were alluding to, it isn't people who rent for 30 days anymore.
Yeah.
It's people, this is much better than a motel, nobody's supervising us,
They
we can
use
do
it for
anything we
bachelor
want.
parties.
So what
Yeah.
would you recommend?
Don't do it.
Wait, when you're saying don't do it, don't make these rules or
Don't do Airbnb.
don't allow Airbnb. That's even harder to do than
You're not gonna, that's not gonna
That's not
fly.
gonna happen.
No.
yeah.
I do
That's
Airbnb.
that's telling people you can't use your
Yeah.
home for something, your own personal
Yeah.
home for something.
Well, I don't know, then maybe you should make some standards for it.
I
But
think,
I
that's
don't know
what-
how
I
you're
think that's
gonna
what
do
we're
that.
Can I
think-
suggest just coming
Drop
back to
it.
this later when we have a quorum at
Yeah.
least?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
that this seems like a very hot topic that maybe we should make sure everyone's
Yeah,
here to
it's-
talk about.
This is
Yeah.
difficult to regulate, and if you're gonna create standards, what standards are you gonna use? They have to relate to some sort of,
Yeah, well, I
issue,
think the people
and
do have
they
to
don't-
sign up,
don't
because
do
they
it.
usually come for a week or two, so
Right,
they must have
yeah.
to sign some kind of thing. So when you said, Camden's rules, see what other towns are doing.
Yes, so-
Camden, I'm sure, has run into it a lot,
Probably.
because it's so choice. And a lot of those people rent out their mansions, you were saying, everything but 1 month. So they are shrewd enough that they would have figured out how to
yeah, I
handle
think we are
this.
creating a problem.
problem that isn't
That,
there.
yeah, there is no problem here,
Yeah,
I
let's
think,
not.
that we're creating a
Yeah.
problem.
Let's not deal with a
Yeah.
problem that doesn't exist. Tiny homes,
So tiny homes, I know why it was put in here, but it seems to me to be a little redundant because it's just a home. It's irrelevant what size somebody chooses to build. It has to meet various codes
The
and life
building
safety
code
code.
allows them.
Right, so it's irrelevant that it's tiny, in my opinion.
I agree.
We don't have a restriction for,
No, and it's a big deal.
For
I think
residential.
the only problem that Stan mentioned was the size limit of regular residential, but that's probably something we just talk about.
That's in the building code.
Yeah, that's something we could probably just
but the
throw.
they adjusted the International Building Code.
Because it used to be like
Right.
700 square feet or
Feet,
something, and they
yeah.
reduced it to
Yeah.
maybe 450
Something like that, I
or,
can't remember. But they do allow them.
yeah.
So it'd be
I-
zoning that would come in to
Right.
restrict and
And
we're not.
We allow homes everywhere, let's just allow homes,
We
well,
allow
not in
Single
industrial.
wide, so we should allow tiny homes.
That's how it came up, we were discussing that they're so
I
tiny
know.
that you could actually pick them
allow-
up and move them.
Yeah,
Do we allow residences in the commercial district?
You mean a single family and
Yeah.
not now,
Oh, okay, I just.
unless it's a mixed use.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that we
Yeah.
weren't
Right.
changing anything.
I just didn't include those because,
We didn't include those.
right.
Yeah,
So remove tiny homes
yeah, I think,
and
I think so. I
and
don't-
just have it mixed into
do we
single
have
family.
any in town? I don't think we do.
Not here.
There's a fellow on West Main, has one parked there that they built,
I mean, I have a little cabin I built up in the woods,
yeah.
which is
I mean,
all
that's what
of
people
like
do.
basically
The,
400
traditional
square
You know,
feet
Shed
wide.
City,
I love
they're
that. I
not,
think
they're
that's
not here,
amazing.
but Shed City is only a couple of miles from us.
Oh, in Warren, you-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are building
Yeah,
tiny
they
homes
have the
there,
small,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's
So sooner or
traditionally
later-
been used as like a cabin,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically what I
Yeah.
have.
yeah.
But it met all the code requirements
Yeah.
and,
It was the same thing with short-term rentals. It was just a growing industry going
Yeah.
on when we were discussing this in May.
That's a can of worms.
yeah.
Tiny homes?
No, short-term rentals.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say tiny homes. How is that a can of worms?
It's like living in a can.
All right.
I had an apartment in New York City that would have qualified as a tiny home. I think it was a little over 200 square feet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like,
Did you sleep standing up?
no, just about, you know. The bed folded up. It was like
Oh,
kind of a
Murphy bed.
room gold- No, well, it wasn't quite a Murphy bed. but it
Not
was
that
kind of
nice,
like-
huh?
Yeah, no.
Wasn't meant to fold up,
Well,
but you
yeah,
made it
yeah,
fold
no,
up.
kind of. And the bathroom was down the hall. Had a sink in the apartment.
My daughter lives in this like tiny little home in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, would they pack them in, yeah.
Yeah.
Evaluated farm production. I'm not quite sure we need that.
That's,
Do we have food processing?
Yeah, we do. Oh,
Yeah.
no, we have food processing for.
Breweries, distilleries, and vineyards.
but
yeah.
isn't that the same as, we called it something else, like just ancillary
Yeah, we
farm stuff?
had a
I
couple of
think
them.
that was maybe agriculture-related business?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
We're just
Yeah.
having it under that?
Yeah, yeah, because we put, there was a lot of redundancy in some of
I
the
think
ag
the-
stuff.
Okay, I think the difference between them is just what districts are allowed for each one. For example, I think value added was allowed in the village and downtown and industrial, agriculture related small wasn't allowed in those.
Hmm.
Uh,
It's up to,
Well, we said that the ag-related business is just a yes, and the value
Yeah.
added requires
I
both.
mean, value added would be
Selling honey?
processing, you know, something into a finished product
Oh.
of some sort.
Right, like turning goat cheese into cheese,
Cheese,
goat
yeah.
milk into cheese.
Cheese,
that's
yeah,
it.
that would be,
Wait, then for commercial use,
Right.
right?
yeah. Or some sort of sale, yeah.
Right,
Yeah, that could be scaled somehow. I mean,
so,
that's where the industrial park used to be. They canned squash.
Yeah. One
so.
Pie Lane,
Wow.
Yeah, what by like?
Really? That's what it used to be.
Yeah.
One Pie Lane, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
They used to make, yeah, because then they used to, somewhere in Waldeboro used to grow tons of pumpkins, and there was a pumpkin canning.
Yeah, that was it.
That
One
was
pie
it,
like
huh?
Yeah.
Squash, pumpkins,
Oh, that makes sense.
yeah.
So eliminate value-added farm production,
Yeah, that was just, I think, redundant.
I think so.
Yeah.
and are we, so assuming that's being combined into agriculture-related business, are we changing either of those two?
I'm wondering if you don't just need the CEO just to sign off on it?
Yeah, I would think.
I don't know if you need the planner too, but
Similar to how it. I think
just in the
that's-
ag-related business?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's, all right.
I didn't write anything, we might have said CEO.
Yeah, most of these are occurring on the farm.
Yeah, I think it's
Right.
just,
Not really dealing
I
with.
think
um,
ag-related business,
that was on the first page.
yeah, it's on the first page. It's allowed pretty much everywhere except the downtown, but you need a CEO for the village, historic
And
village,
historic
and the
village.
industrial.
Yeah, and I.
So just
I
do
don't-
the same thing there, just CEO across the board?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think just another set of eyes on it, just in case of parking, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be the only.
That would be the only thing I would
thing
think is
think,
parking.
yeah.
I mean, we'll come back to it later because,
Yeah, once we get
That's
things
also-
cleaned up with the new review review status in there. No, we didn't do that bad. Next time, we'll start on Articles 1 through 5. Everybody has this.
You have those?
Just make
And-
sure tiny homes don't come back.
Confirming what's the next date?
The next dates would be, let's see, we meet on the second Monday, so that would be the 13th, if I have my date right, because the 8th is Monday, 6th, 13th.
Of January.
Yep,
Okay.
I won't
2020.
be able to be here.
okay. January 13th,
13.
5:30 PM. Hopefully we'll have a quorum.
We get lots done, we don't need a quorum.
We did go through all that.
We did good.
Yeah. We should get that put together for next, we can hand that out.
The revised.
The
thing?
revised, yeah,
Yep.
because I have the description of the land use districts, the revised ones done.
Are you gonna send that to us so that we, it's great when I can print it out on my computer.
Yep.
So I can
I'll,
look at it before.
when I have this updated, I'll send it out to everyone I'll send it out with the minutes for this
Yeah.
And
meeting.
what are we
Yeah, okay.
doing? We're
great.
doing this next?
Yeah,
Oh,
right, yeah,
okay, I don't
Looking
think
at the
I-
reformatted,
Okay, I don't think I
And
have
contact.
that. Yeah, I'm sure I don't have that. So,
no, I asked you this last time.
did you ask me that?
Can we resend it?
Yeah, I can resend it, but
Yeah.
I can give,
I have the subdivision standards, but I don't
Yeah.
have,
Yeah, we handed out the subdivision standard, because this includes the application review, so.
do you,
oh, hang on a second, is
Subdivision.
that section?
1 through
No.
5?
Oh, I got section 3.
Do you just want me to send an email to you? I'll send out an email to everyone
Yeah,
with those two.
Yeah, because I can just print it out
I
at
can
home.
print it, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, just remember, subdivision section's new,
yeah.
because we separated it out from the.
Regular
site review.
process.
Yeah,
And has the planning board looked at that? And-
No.
Okay,
no. No, it's just, the existing organization is kind of unwieldy.
yeah,
Because the two don't mesh terribly well. Because subdivision, we have different public notification requirements, and submission requirements are different too, so.
okay. We have a motion to adjourn,
I make a motion, we adjourn?
and a second.
Yep.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. I don't think it makes a difference because we don't have a quorum, right?
Right.